Do you have anxiety? Well, if you don't, get on the bandwagon, man. Everybody's got anxiety. And who are you that you wouldn't? So we think the normal state of humans right now is anxious. In fact, you might say chronically anxious.
Mm.
And we think that you can have a fruitful life, in fact, a flourishing life in spite of it.
Yeah, a very, I would say, a modern issue. It's tough to say chicken or the egg, or is it that we
Mhm.
only talk about it more now and everyone
By the
was kind of,
way, I ordered a chicken and an egg from Amazon. I'll let you know.
thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. But is it that we in modern times talk about it more? We have better vocabulary for it. So
Oh, that's
really
true.
everyone
Yeah.
was anxious all the time. But I don't think so. I think this is a modern problem.
I don't think so either.
It requires some modern solutions.
I think anxiety has always been around since we're
Yeah.
humans, but this level, this epidemic volume of it, I think is a new experience. And we think that men might struggle to admit they have anxiety.
Hmm.
And you don't have to admit it, keep it to yourself, but we're still going to help you with it. And we think this is going to be a great conversation. We thought it'd be good to start with a couple of jokes, though. So, John, Chuck Norris died recently. So I thought we could tell some of our favorite Chuck Norris jokes.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
good. Chuck Norris. Oh well, first off the bat, I don't think Chuck Norris died. I think he's missing in action. I think
Well, the joke was Chuck Norris died 10 years ago and the death angel's been too afraid to tell him.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Chuck
great.
Norris doesn't flush the toilet. He scares the crap out of it.
Yeah. Chuck Norris counted to infinity twice.
When Chuck Norris was born, he drove his mom home from the hospital.
I love that one.
I do too.
Uh, oh, there's so many good ones. Under Chuck Norris's beard is not a chin, but another fist.
Another fist. All right. That's enough Chuck Norris jokes. Let's get into some anxiety topics. John, we're going four quarters like usual, but this time we're saving all the action items for the end. So you won't have to
Yeah.
get a hot pencil going or pause this thing. We're going to save for the end. We've got five action steps for you at the end to consider, and you can even just do one of them. But we believe this is all going to be really helpful stuff for you. So, John, walk us through what the four quarters are, and then we're going to begin by telling you about our individual journeys with anxiety.
Yeah. So this week, for the topic of anxiety, we are talking about what anxiety is first for the first quarter, causes and reality. Second quarter, what makes anxiety worse. Third quarter, how to move through anxiety, some practical steps. And fourth quarter, carrying on those practical steps into flourishing with anxiety or flourishing through anxiety.
And our big idea is that anxiety does not have to master you because when you understand it, you face it, and you take some action toward it, it can become something that you can move through and grow from. Maybe not eliminate, but you can certainly make progress and have success.
Absolutely. And I've met people, there's a spectrum, of course. There's a people who experience seasons of fear, people who experience constant unease. And I know several people with diagnosed general anxiety disorder that
Mhm.
requires medication.
Yeah,
So none of this is erasure of that or saying that if you do these kind of mental judo tricks that we're going to show you, you can throw away your SSRIs, pour them down the sink, whatever. Uh, which don't do that actually. That's bad for water, for the water supply of an area.
oh, it doesn't
Because
calm the fish down.
I think it might mellow them out. I don't know, but it's not worth it. Uh,
Well, while we
all that to say that yes, this is more of a normative anxiety, and we want to, as you'll see, so many of our tips is about getting beyond yourself. That you can't do this alone, and you should be able to seek. You should feel free to seek help. That it doesn't say anything bad about you.
absolutely, we are not against medication. We're not against counselors, helpers, all that. And I always say, don't quit taking your medicine until your body starts rejecting because you don't need it anymore.
Hmm.
And then get a doctor to sign you off on stopping it. So please don't control your own meds and without a doctor. And we do believe you can make progress at any level of anxiety. Progress can be made, and it is a combination of medication and learning to think differently and respond to your anxiety differently. So
Yeah.
whether that's coping mechanisms or strategies, that's kind of the whole thing. So let's talk first of all, John, about each of us and our what we might call our anxiety story. So you go first, and then I'll follow up.
Yeah, the narrative is tricky because it's not always as clean or clear as I would like it. So in 2022 or three, what year is it? 26?
Yeah.
I can't remember when this even happened. But me and my wife were hit by a drunk driver, and the car rolled a bunch, and she was hurt. She spent 9 days in the hospital. And since then, we've had it was interesting because it was very delayed. I didn't feel very anxious immediately after the fact. Well, immediately after the fact, I did. But in her recovery, I was kind of, um, I think, surviving. And then months later, half a year later, it kind of hit me like a truck. So since then, it's been much more of a struggle. But thinking before then, there were times where I think, I can't really blame it entirely on the trauma part, because I think I was already predisposed towards it. So maybe that was just, what was that? Throwing gasoline on a fire kind of thing.
Hmm.
But so that's been mine. And then that's manifested a lot in kinds of insomnia, some more mild panicky kind of symptoms sometimes. And it's been a real challenge. It's been not fun, but I have experienced growth through it. I've learned a ton, which is really nice. The benefit of all trials and
Hmm.
and challenges. So yeah.
Well, I think often about whether you see the scenes in your imagination, how often.
Mhm.
The car landed upside down, and, Lindsay had to be cut out of her seatbelt because she couldn't get it unhooked. And so that takes moments, and the cops arriving and all that. And the dog was in there, flopping around in the car. I wasn't with you, but I imagine those scenes in my own imagination, and they are traumatic scenes.
Mhm.
And are those part of what you experience, is seeing those images more, or is that really not the challenge?
Not so much. I and it's a little less now, but loud noises would immediately get my adrenaline pumping.
Hmm.
Um, because I wasn't Lindsay was driving. I was actually in the back seat because her friend was also in the car. We just picked her up from the airport. And so I was falling asleep in the back seat when it's just the one of the loudest noises I've ever heard in my life, with no ramp up. In a movie, you might hear an engine revving first.
Yeah.
You just go silence to what I call what I how I describe it as like a glass bomb going off right behind my head. Because we're
Yeah.
in a Prius, I'm basically taking up more than half of this car. So yeah, so loud noises, but no, generally not the scenes. I don't know why that is.
Well, that's
Um,
awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
there's so many amazing things through that whole journey of the actual accident recovery, kind of God moments and cool things that happened, blah, blah, blah. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how debilitating, controlling, how much does it ongoingly affect you?
it comes in seasons because it is so related to driving.
Yeah.
So, Lindsay's family is all 2 hours up north. You guys are all an airplane a flight away,
Which is
uh
an airport trip, and that's
which
what it
is
was on. You were
yep,
coming back from the
exactly,
airport.
through some of the our gnarliest traffic
Yeah.
in the I-5 405 corridors. So normally it's with those. So if I don't have any of that coming up, my life's pretty normal
Hmm.
for a while. And then it's, it has to do with those. So recently though, we talked before offhandedly about a friend of ours who basically, when he's done with a social scenario, he just goes out to the car, goes on a walk. And
Yeah.
so we had a bit of a disagreement about how I admired that. And so this has been kind of the the challenge with this is how much do I bend? So a someone with much worse trauma, someone with a military veteran with PTSD,
Sure. Sure.
you don't expect them to enjoy fireworks the rest of their lives. Like
Right.
you just expect them to, when it's 4th of July, they're going to make arrangements,
Yep.
or
Noise
they're
canceling headphones
yep,
and
yep.
yeah.
They might move out of the city because they just can't do crowds
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
You know, so how much do I go? Okay, well, I'm not going to see my family, or I'm going to only take the train, or I'm going to, how much do I do? How much do you work around it,
Yeah.
and how much do you
Plow
actually
plow
push
through it.
yourself? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's been a challenge. I think it's a balancing act, but I've learned a lot, especially recently, as I've had some more conversations about this and help on this. So I'm really excited to share those because
Well,
they
that's
they
good.
have been beneficial.
Awesome.
So yeah, how about you?
Well, for me, I had my first anxiety attack in COVID.
Mm,
I was leading a large church and in a state where the responses were radical,
mhm.
and Christians were highly divided on what church leaders should do, and it was brutal. I'm a people pleaser, and I know I can't please everybody all the time, but in COVID, it felt like I couldn't please anybody any of the time. And I started having heart palpitations and stuff. I thought it was my AFib had come back. And so I was in the middle of a 6 hour episode of AFib. So I went to the ER to see, like, okay, my always fear was I'll show up and it'll quit right before they do the
Right.
test. And they got me all hooked up and it's still happening. So I'm like, good, they're going to see it. And they said, nope, you're not an AFib. You are anxious. You're having an anxiety attack. So that was
Man.
I never knew it was possible for me to have an anxiety attack. So that opened my eyes to start wrestling through that. And those episodes would come periodically. And I had some prayer repetitions I did, some meditation type moments I would use, and it would almost dissipate almost every time. But
Mm,
on deeper reflection, I began to realize, that of my five children, I think all five have anxiety struggles, and some would say they have life controlling anxiety. A couple of grandkids as well, and so um, I wonder how chronically anxious Sue and I are as individuals. And so as I reflected back over my life, I realized that I've had this mild. I thought I was a worrier or always thinking ahead
mhm.
or planning to but the reality is I was finding ways to reduce my pretty consistent sense of anxiety.
Yeah.
And so I have not had life controlling anxiety, but it does inspire a lot of the life habits that I have to eliminate it. And so um, I wouldn't compare myself to someone who's having medication and having life controlling anxiety. I wouldn't pretend to know what that's like, but I certainly have had my own journey with this level of anxiety.
And it seems like a good amount of victory. So I'm kind of excited to learn some of those, maybe some of those devotional tools you used.
Well, yeah, it's a journey. So let's dive in first and let's talk about quarter one. What anxiety is? What are the causes and reality of it? And so, John, get us going with this quarter.
So physiologically, psychologically, I don't actually know. Uh, that's I hate to say that, but I'm not a
Well,
psychologist.
we have never claimed to be experts, that's for sure.
No. But for me, definitely what it is a hijacking. It is a in all emotions you lose some autonomy. In
Hmm.
anxiety, there is a violent um, grabbing of the controls. So it's a very physiological thing. I remember, you talked about you thought it was AFib.
Hmm.
I was having palpitations when I first, those 6 months or whatever after the accident. I was like, what is going on?
Hmm.
And I looked up, it was really funny. I looked up how many palpitations a day is too many. And I found out it's something like 1,000
Mm.
of actual palpitations before you are like, you should go to the doctor. And as soon as I read that, I stopped having them and I didn't have another one for maybe a year.
That's
It was like,
interesting.
so that's the mind body thing. The
Yeah.
anxiety is there, and it's literally making my physical heart in my body do something.
Yeah.
And then when I obtain new information and it stops and my heart goes back to normal.
That's really
Very,
interesting.
very,
Yeah.
very strange. So it's really, Freud, I think, did the talked about the id, ego, superego, the managing systems of your mind. And I feel like everyone is kind of acknowledges that you have some kind of plurality in your mind. You have conversations with yourself.
Yeah.
You have sometimes antagonistic or glorifying ideas of yourself and conversations with yourself. So anxiety for me is an unwanted arresting of your physiological controls
Hmm.
in the name of fear, worry, or panic.
Hmm.
And then the ways that you manage that is all managing internally uh, to get some measure of control back from your emotions.
I love it. I mean, I don't love it. I love that you're helping us get our arms around it. I think one of the keys about this is, if you normalize it, name it, expose what's actually going on inside of you,
Hmm.
you gain some ability to stare at, to objectify it, put it
Well,
out on the table and look at it.
that was you when that doctor told you was an AFib, right?
Yeah,
What a
yeah,
gift that is to actually have a name for it and to be able to
yeah,
work with it.
yeah. And so we think that's helpful because anxiety can be this food feedback loop where you're paralyzed. Now it's more fear. Now I'm paralyzed more. Now more fear. And so the less you act, the bigger it feels. So if
Hmm.
you can start by naming it, exposing it, identifying it, you can start to maybe manipulate it and understand it better. One thing that's been helpful to me is that, generally speaking, and I don't know if this is absolute, so tell me your thoughts about this, John. But the idea is that anxiety is generally about the future, maybe always, and depression is about the past. Is that is that your understanding?
I think it's a hard rule. I think anxiety is in the future.
Yeah.
I think, and it's in I've worded it this way in our 1024 that the more you can become present, the more out of even the reach and territory of anxiety you are. So if you are, I thought about it like this: if you're in, and this is getting a little into some more tips, but if you're in clear and present danger
Yeah.
in the moment, that
Be very
probably,
anxious. Yeah.
you're right, right,
Yeah.
and that probably makes up, one millionth of 1% of your entire life, the amount of time that you spend in
Yeah.
your life in clear and present danger.
Yeah.
The whole rest of the time, look around. Where is the danger? It's
Yeah.
not real. It's not here.
Yeah.
So even if you say you have a diagnosis, say you know that you have a cancer in your body, you could think right now, this very moment, there is damage being done to my body,
Hmm.
but you are alive. And if you're taking action, which we'll talk a lot about taking action, you have taken action. There is a
Hmm.
plan.
Hmm.
You can work on it. So it's like anxiety almost makes it seem like there's a man standing in front of me with a gun to my head right now.
Yeah.
But that is not true. That is
Yeah.
all
You
in the
look
future.
around, he's not there.
Right.
I'm
Because you're
afraid
all
he's going to be there. I'm afraid he's
exactly,
coming. I think he might come.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so by staying right now in the present, you can eliminate tons of this because it's not real. You would say, well, what do you mean it's not real? It's not real because you're living in this moment and that thing isn't happening in this moment. So
Hmm.
therefore, it is not really happening.
And anxiety is not, uh, well, it's not present or real or in the way that it's not rational. It's emotional to the extent of, for me, after the accident, it was, there was a little bit of rest in probability. The odds of this happening to me a second time are very low.
Yes.
And then one of the things that made it worse was I had heard of a family in our church they had lost a child before,
Yeah.
and they lost a second child,
Yeah.
both to different natural causes.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, it can happen twice. These things can happen. But it's like, yeah, I had a music teacher once who claimed he'd been struck by lightning 3 times. You and mom would always tell me, there's no way that this guy's always telling the truth.
Well,
Uh,
that was only three of his stories. He had lots of crazy stories.
the only one I could verify is that he claimed to be in Michael Jackson's Thriller music video, and
Yes,
he actually was.
and he actually was. So maybe he was struck by lightning three times
Maybe.
during the filming of the Michael Jackson video.
Maybe. But all this to say, I know I just listed two really horrifying examples. Those are horrifying for a reason. The
Yeah.
truth is that all the things you fear, you have a percentage breakdown of this, Dad. Help me out. Of the things you fear most, this amount will happen, and this amount won't. Walk us through that.
90% of what you worry about will not happen. 5% of what will happen, you will have zero control over. So that means you are worrying, your 100% of your worries are only 5% worthy.
Mhm.
So it really can help you right size that.
So then, when your anxiety is detached from what is even likely to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and a kind of gaining control back from that into the realm of the likely, you know. And even it can be powerful to run through worst case scenario. Say, if my very worst fear happened, what would I do?
Yeah.
That's a great exercise also. but the odds
I
of that
think it
happening
is
are
a
not
great
good.
exercise. I don't think it's a great place to live all the time.
No, absolutely.
And the idea is, hey, how about if I just live right now? I find
Mhm.
so much peace in that. So let's wrap this up. But we want to wrap this up by saying, for anxiety is not weakness,
Mhm.
and you're not alone. So while we're talking about this, I don't want it to sound like we're being hard on people who have anxiety.
No.
We battle anxiety, but we are saying name it, set it out on the table, look at it, and recognize that it has to do with the future, and the future isn't happening right now. And start to acknowledge what's going on in your body, what's going on in your mind,
Mhm.
what's real and what isn't. That's a great starting point. So now, John, let's go to quarter number two. What makes anxiety worse?
Yeah. So anxiety is so much about control. I think that's one of the reasons why it lives in the future. Is it's untouchable by control. You can't control the future, so it lives there. If it lived in the present, you could do something
Mm-hmm.
to basically kill it. So avoidance fuels anxiety. Avoiding basically, we kind of word it this way. If you are presented with anxiety, you have basically three responses. You can do some a kind of devotional or meditative or introspective way to
Yeah.
resolve that.
Yeah.
You could take action or plan action.
Mm-hmm.
That's as far as this what we're really talking about. Or three, you could try and think about something else. So go to your phone, start scrolling, go to TV, eat food, watch pornography,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things that just kick it down the road. And actually, what you're doing is feeding it and making it much worse when you eventually do have to deal with it.
With option number three.
With option number three, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So the only one that's going to really make it worse is avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just avoid it, medicate, divert, that is going to only make it worse. But the other two, resolving it mentally, thinking through the cases, doing the worst case scenario, resolving how you could reduce threat if for example you worry about an intruder, what are the ways I could secure my home? You kind of reduce the odds. So acting or planning, these things really help, but avoidance is the killer because it will make it worse.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
The next thing is overthinking can start to paralyze you because then you say, okay, I'm going to think about this. And then you end up with this endless loop of yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but. John
Mm-hmm.
used to say, what if, but what if? When you were young, you did this all the time. And you would have a little anxiety, a little worry. What if? Well, then, yeah, but then what? But what if? But what if? What if? And you would do that a lot. And that is really the overthinking paralysis that tries to outthink the anxiety, but you're actually feeding the anxiety.
Yeah. So yeah, the ways basically you are, it's kind of like, oh, there's a phrase I'm totally blanking on right now. But basically, if you can't wrestle pigs without getting mud on you. So people say as a way to don't engage with certain arguments or
Yeah.
conflict because it's just you're just going to get mud on yourself.
Yeah.
So in this way, there are tools that I'm really excited to get to engage in that mental um uh dialogue.
Yeah.
But here the yeah but is like it's like I keep thinking of mud. It's like quicksand. Where basically the anxiety because it's so irrational, and this is when you're spiraling. So some people who aren't anxious might not understand this. That it's like, yeah, I have things that I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of spiders,
Mm-hmm.
or there are things that make me kind of my heartbeat go up a little bit. But spiraling is a involuntary process,
Well, it
and
makes
when
me think
yeah.
of a guy in a rowboat, and there's a
Mhm.
hole in the rowboat, and the boat's filling up with water, and he's got this little coffee can, and he's scooping out water and throwing it into the lake while it's coming in as fast as he's shoveling it. And that's what
Mhm.
overthinking does to you. That's what the what if. It can start to
Totally.
feel exactly like that. I'm paling water as fast as I can, but the thing is still full of water.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Another thing it does, or another thing that makes anxiety worse, is isolation. So this can be a lot of sometimes we do this to ourselves, but we believe we're talking to struggling young men whose isolation is oftentimes doesn't feel self-imposed. It
Mhm.
feels, or it might even be imposed by a world that is so isolating
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
digitized and
Mhm.
individualistic. So this isn't necessarily your fault, but it is absolutely a anxiety feeder. Think about what we talked about, imagining a worst case scenario. Again, not always advised, but helpful to as an exercise. Most of the time, if you're isolated, that worst case scenario, the what will I do is maybe I'll just die. Like who knows what I'll do, right?
Right,
There's
right.
no one here to catch me. And especially in issues of masculinity, you might think I shouldn't need anybody there to catch me. But you do. Everybody does. There's no such thing as the self-made man. There's no such thing as the man that is an island. And when we talk about steps you can take, this is a huge one for your anxiety, where you can actually take steps to build a community and to remove isolation. Because it's what would we call it? Isolation is anxiety fertilizer.
It really is. And what the self-feeding loop of that is, well, I'm a man, I shouldn't need help. I'm weak. This means I'm weak. People will see me as weak. I can't tell anybody about this because I can't share it. Now you're taking the fertilizer of anxiety and you're making it even worse
Mhm.
because you believe that uh, community would be worse because people would know that you struggle, and boy, the lack of support increases all of your fears.
Absolutely.
So you've got these pride and control issues that kind of merge. I need, anxiety is about control. I don't have any control. I need control. I was telling John before we started recording, almost all I get stuff done, and I get stuff done a lot. I just get a lot of stuff done. And the reason for that is because I'm anxiously terrified of not getting it done.
Mm.
So the only way I calm myself down is things scratched off my to-do list. I'll even, if I do something that's not on my to-do list, I add it to my to-do list and scratch it out because it reduces anxiety. So, uh,
That's pretty smart.
yeah, so, these pride and control issues are a problem. And when you avoid, okay, these things that make it worse, none of it gets better.
Mhm.
So again, avoidance becomes the enemy of anxiety, of recovery, the enemy of your recovery or of your, I don't know what I'm trying to think of here, the enemy of your success in spite of anxiety
Yeah.
is the avoidance of the entire thing.
Yeah. So maybe to boil that whole quarter down to three, it would be rumination, isolation, and pride, basically.
Well, that's a great summary. All right, it's halftime, John, and it's time to give our book recommendations. We tell you this every episode. We're not going to stop recommending books because we want you to read.
Hmm.
And we think that readers are leaders, leaders are readers, lifelong learners. That's the way it is. It always makes you better. There's almost, other than these fantasy sex books, there's almost nothing you can't read that's better for you. So we're
Yeah.
going to keep pushing you to read. So I'll go first, John. My book this week is called Chasing Francis.
Mm.
And this is a really cool. It's a fake story. I think it might be actually maybe his story. I can't remember. But pastor of a megachurch on a Sunday morning, when it's time for him to preach, has like this meltdown,
Mm.
and he sits on the edge of the platform and tells the church, "I'm sorry. I don't know how to talk to you. I'm a mess. I'm not sure what I think about God right now. I'm not,
Wow.
he just loses it. So the board tells him, go away for a while, far, far away. So he decides to go to Italy and retrace the steps of St. Francis of Assisi. And so he goes there and he meets a bunch of monks and he walks this journey and he learns a ton about uh, his relationship with God and finding his faith again.
Mm.
Great book. So that's my book recommendation today.
It's great.
The author is Ian Morgan Cron.
Okay.
That's a great
How
name.
do you spell that last name?
Cron. Ian Morgan
Kron.
Cron. My name is Ian Morgan Cron. I just hear him
It
talking like
reminds me.
that.
I just hear Peter Falk's voice in The Princess Bride going by S. Morgenstern. For some reason, I just hear that. I love Peter Falk.
Introduction. Yeah.
I'm gonna pivot. And on outline and on here, this is a little tease of what I was gonna do. I'll talk about this later.
Okay.
I'm gonna pivot because you reminded me for this specific conversation is a book I've been reading by Richard Foster called The Celebration of Discipline, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
or Disciplines,
The
because
celebration of discipline.
of discipline. Thank you. I have it on ebook and I didn't prepare because I had another book, so I won't show you even the cover. But it's basically a man in the Quaker tradition but he writes interdisciplinary with faith traditions, writers all through the history of the church on their practices of the spiritual disciplines. So
Yeah.
I'm only halfway through to admit it, but he so far has talked about meditative prayer or meditation, prayer as such, fasting, and study. So he has more from there, but a really interesting dude, a real hippie, Richard Foster. I try not to learn too much about these guys because you just never know, like what if he ends up being just
Yeah. Never
who
meet your
knows what.
heroes. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's been really, really helpful as far as comprehensive looks at everyday mysticism, as you could say it, which is kind of a dirty word sometimes for some people.
Hmm.
But as far as to say that this is not just the interior life and spiritual life for Christians specifically, is not just for monks, and it's
Yeah.
not just for ascetics and pastors, professional clergy.
Yeah.
It's for everybody. It's for everybody who has access to the Spirit and to Christ, which is everybody
Yeah.
who professes faith. So it's been, and per this conversation of anxiety, in my most recent anxious night, which was, of course, before a drive, um, I was reading the prayer chapter specifically. It was very, very soothing. It's just good stuff. He's a great writer, a very gentle man. Yeah, big recommendation.
That book was a textbook for me in college in the 80s. And then when I graduated, he wrote another book called Money, Sex, and Power. And I had the opportunity to go see him speak. So I got to go see Richard Foster speak, which was one of the greatest letdowns of my young life.
No.
He stood there and read his manuscript. He did not go off script. He read it to us and then said, "Thank you very much." And he walked away.
I love him even more now. Now I do want to meet my heroes. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, quarter number three, John, how to move through anxiety, some practical helps here. And then we're going to get down to quarter number four, which is flourishing through anxiety. So we're going to talk
Mhm.
about kind of coping mechanisms help, kind of practical helps. And then we're going to get through some flourishing, and then we'll finish with some action steps for you. So let's keep this going, John. Quarter three, how to move through anxiety. Give us some practical help.
Okay, so I'm not going to waste any more time. This has been the biggest stuff for me with my very very serious life hindering problems.
Okay.
These are things I've got wonderful nieces and nephews on Lindsay's brother's kids, just some of the cutest, nicest kids, and they've got birthdays. And they want us to come up. They want us to bring our dog. They want to see Uncle John and Aunt Lindsay. They want to see our dog Pippin. And
I
making
can't, you can't talk about them without me thinking of the first daughter who just sits and stares at you all the time.
Rosie, their first daughter, they had a wall up with photos of all their aunts and uncles and some family friends, so she
Yeah.
could, like, she would just hold my photo upside down most of the time and just stare at it. And when we'd visit, she would stare at me from far away.
Yeah.
But if I ever got too close, she would just break down crying. She would just could not handle it. So she's 4 now, I believe,
Yeah.
and a lot more fun to be around for me. And
Yeah.
she likes me a
Yeah.
lot more.
Yeah.
Anyway, so these are debilitating. It because like you hear about a child's birthday who's excited to see you, and your first thought is, man, I do not want to do that. If I
Yeah.
could teleport, I would, but
Yeah.
I do not want to go up there.
Yeah.
Or with you guys, so you're in Colorado now. We see you once a year,
Yeah.
and the thought of we talk about it, should we visit more? I think of just more of those sleepless nights and the spiraling. So the big one for me recently has been I keep being dodgy about it. I don't need to. I'm seeing a therapist.
Hmm.
Uh, and it's been very helpful to receive. He's a Christian. I talked to him on recommendation from other friends who I really trust who have seen him, and uh, he talks about the basically you when you talking about avoiding things as a lifestyle, like, okay, I'm
Hmm.
just going to take the train, or I'm not going to see my family, or I'm going to push through. He says, when you're presented with an opportunity like that, so very concretely, a drive,
Yeah. Yeah.
he says, if you don't do it, if you say, I'm going to say no for my own fear, you have now made your anxiety stronger, and you've strangled your
Hmm.
confidence and joy, specifically, is what he said. So we talked about this last time with, I forget what, but basically that there's not two independent values here. When you increase one, you decrease the other. So he said, contrarily, you face your fear, You go through this process. It goes okay. You have now starved your anxiety and you have fed your confidence and joy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's a real. It's tough because there are people that are more debilitated than me. I'm not on any anxiety medication. It's mostly not a problem. We do these drives and I'm just a little distressed the night before. Mostly it works. So I don't want to prescribe this to people who are genuinely shackled by a chemical anxiety and make them go, well, why can't, I'm now feeding my anxiety, and then it becomes its own anxiety. I'm
Well,
feeding my
I
anxiety
think,
and strangling my joy.
well, I think that all you can tell is your story
Yeah.
and how this has affected you. But I would say the 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 point here, the big idea is movement creates some response. So,
Hmm.
uh, and it may be that the only movement you can make is to open the curtains and let the sun in the house.
Yeah.
So, but what we're saying is action breaks the cycle. So, movement disrupts anxiety's grip on you, and even small actions can restore your sense of agency. Like I did it, so you have a success to celebrate, or hold those curtains open in this radical example for 22 seconds and close them again. At
Mm,
least you had 22 seconds of you did something that took every ounce of energy you had. So
absolutely.
there is a lot of help through movement. I think
Yeah.
that's and I think it's fair, John, for you to say that can help everyone.
And yeah, and that it's not just that it's not nothing, that you are, maybe we could call part of this playing the long game, that
Mm-hmm.
you have, when you did that victory did feed your inner resilience. That was not just a thing that the next time you're anxious and you neglect to open the curtains in this example, you go, oh, well, that was for nothing then. I'm a weakling again. I'm scared again. That's
Right.
not true. That victory actually does mean something for you
And
in a
they
real way.
and they compound. So
Yeah.
you don't solve everything in one big step. You take tiny steps. And here's the truth. Anxiety hates clarity and specificity.
Hmm.
So when you do something against your anxiety's wishes, you bring clarity to the fact that the anxiety's wrong. And even if it's just to a tiny degree. So anxiety hates that. It's going to want you to stay paralyzed, to keep avoiding. And so we're kind of personifying anxiety as an enemy, but I think that's helpful and you want to defeat it. So uh, you just have to take even a tiny step. It just helps.
Yeah, and then so if you have a worry that is more, maybe more specific. So my driving one is there's not a lot you can do. Well, actually, no, there is. So we could say some other ways we've gone about this is the train, or there's another route up the for us that you basically go up the Kitsap Peninsula and you take the Kingston Ferry to Edmonds, and then from Edmonds you actually just do back roads through Everett. You can do the whole thing without seeing I-5. It's not bad. So say this was debilitating. You take the whole problem of fear of the road and you break it down into steps.
Yeah.
What are things I could do? Or exposure therapy. You could say, I'm going, if yours is really bad, like for me, it never bothered me for my commute or anything really driving anywhere in Thurston or Lewis counties or Mason County or any rural roads. We did a huge road trip last September, was not a problem. But if it was like, I'm afraid to drive to work, then you start looking at, okay, what you break it down. What is, like you said, those small victories?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do here to gain just a tiny foothold? I'm going to drive around the block. Then I'm going to drive down the street.
Yeah.
Lindsay, since his accident, has had a worse freeway driving fear than me. So hers is, yeah, I'm going to take for work this day. I'm going to do the freeway route instead of the other route.
The back
So this
road route. Yeah.
breaking down exactly
Yeah.
into victories.
And these kind of have one thing in common, and that is use your body
Hmm.
because you walk, you breathe, you move. Because physical regulation brings mental clarity. That's one thing for sure. But also, your body, what anxiety is doing is paralyzing your body. Anxiety is trying to debilitate your body. So you take over your body and you make it do something you want. And using your body is another practical help in a time of anxiety. Get up and move, even if it's back and forth across the room or, you know, uh, getting your body to move, breathing, moving,
Mhm.
walking.
Well, in the
Very
same
helpful.
way we said, anxiety can hijack the body. That's a two-way street, right? So anxiety makes your breathing shallow and your heart go up. So those breathing exercises, one is just take deep breaths. Another is box breathing, which is more helpful for me. But Lindsay hates it. But you do basically inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, kind of drawing a box. Inhale, hold, exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. You do it again. And it happened for
Yeah.
me.
Go
It's
ahead. I'm sorry.
very no, sorry, yeah. It's very fast. The effect it has on my heart rate and my specifically kind of the speed of my worry.
Yeah. I've seen that as the 4x4x4x4. So
Sure, yeah.
yeah. Great. Great help. So a part of that is returning to the present. When you do that, you
Mm,
start returning back to the moment you're in. So when you're regulating your breathing, you're bringing yourself to the awareness of right now, what am I doing? I'm breathing. I'm breathing slow.
mm,
This forces your awareness to come to the moment that you're actually in. And guess where anxiety doesn't live? Right there.
mm,
It lives at where you're not. And so when you bring yourself back to the place where you are, you return to the present and you realize, okay, that thing I fear isn't here right now,
yeah.
but I am. And so that's the beauty of the physical regulation.
And so yeah, your senses, your physical body are your access to the present. You can access the past and future with just your mind, and
Mm-hmm.
your body can't. But your only access to the present moment is your physical body. So and your senses. So one my therapist told me is that if you're having, I haven't tried this fortunately because I haven't had a real panic attack, but he said in those cases you can hold ice cubes in your hand, squeeze them as hard as you can,
Mm-hmm.
and the pain actually, because eventually it starts to hurt, brings you back to the present, to your body.
Mm-hmm.
For me, more meditatively and more proactively, is being outside. Inside, if your house is like mine, it doesn't change very much. It's almost a timeless environment because it's when you're in there, especially in the
It's
nighttime, it could be any
static.
time of
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, static. So if you get outside though and you see this is this time, this moment, I am right here, and like we said before, the mortal danger is not here. Uh, those I'm struggling for other ways to describe it, and we've said before a million times, we can't give you necessarily our aha moments, the things that really worked for us.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to discover those for yourself or discover a specific version of it for yourself. But for me, these have been huge for accessing the
Well,
present.
and I think about the two locations we're at, Washington State and Colorado. In Washington, what I loved about getting outside is you'd have these times all the time where there's clouds in the trees. It
Mm-hmm,
looks like floating steam, and it's in the trees, and the moisture in the air can make the skies look amazing. You have these really amazing things to see, and they change by the minute.
mm-hmm.
They change a lot. In Colorado, we have the mountains. You look west, you have layers of mountains and they change color throughout the entire day. It's where Purple Mountain Majesty came from. They
Oh
and
yeah,
there's times where they look absolutely purple, and there's a darker purple up front, a lighter purple, lighter purple, lighter purple through the layers of the mountains. It's
I love
just
that.
stunning. And so when you get yourself outside, you start to become aware again of the present. And so this is really helpful because anxiety runs on distortion. And when you get in a real environment, you start noticing the environment. Now you're calibrating back to what is true. Okay, this is a real moment, a real place, a real feeling, a real temperature, a real sense of pain, a real physical contact. You're orienting yourself back to the truth because truth grounds you, which you can also use, sacred truth, ancient wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
reality, probability, stats. These things are also ways to recalibrate back to the truth. But the reason being outside and moving is so cool is because it brings you to the present, and the present is where the truth lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we should move on to flourishing. I think that's a great segue
Okay.
into how this actually going on in your life can be a huge win. So, here we want to reframe anxiety as part of growth, not just something to eliminate, though obviously minimizing it. And uh, there's been a lot of talk recently I think, because of Inside Out 2, which I have not seen, the Pixar film.
Yeah.
They have a new emotion that is anxiety, and there's reframing of befriending your anxiety.
Yeah.
And I'll just admit I don't know anything about that. Dad, you seem like you're familiar on that.
Well, I asked my friend who's a PhD therapist. I asked him, when you work with people who have anxiety, is your goal to eliminate it, or is your goal to equip them to flourish inside of it? And he said, well, we love to eliminate it when we can, but that's not always the case. And I don't think
Mm,
he seemed to indicate that it's even usually the case.
mm,
So a part of what we're talking about is, if your idea of success, I talk to men who battled their lust, for example, and I ask them, what is your definition of success? Well, I don't want to ever lust again. Well, then you're going to be dead. You're going to win this battle 12 seconds after you die. So there's got to be a better definition of success. Well, the definition of success is I don't dwell on it. There's a book we're reading called Disciplines of a Godly Man, and on the purity chapter, he says, you notice a woman, then you look at the woman, and then you stare at the woman, and now you're the dirty old man. It's a progression. So success is not letting myself get to the dirty old man phase, or not letting whatever. So you redefine success. Success for you may not be that you never feel anxious again.
yeah,
It may be that you win every time anxiety attacks you and you overcome. So
yeah,
redefining that, and so that's what we're talking about, flourishing. We're not that you're becoming a man who can handle it. You're becoming a man that can say, not today, anxiety. I'm going to flourish in spite of you.
yeah. And then those tools. So some of them, another analogy or image that comes to my mind is an ICU, critical support, and then kind of long term recovery.
Yeah.
So some of those that we're talking about is critical, like mentally, you have a gunshot wound, you're spiraling, you need to stop the bleeding and kind of get control of yourself again.
Mm-hmm.
So long term care, Dad, I asked you before that I'd want to hear some of those kind of meditative,
Mm-hmm.
devotional kind of tools that helped you long term. Would you be willing to
Yeah.
share?
So I want to say this first about that. In sports, there's the question, are you injured or are you hurt?
Mm.
And an athlete, particularly, I'm a big hockey fan, Colorado Avs, number one in the league. The season will end next Thursday. And
That's your Larry McMurtry's the Avalanche and
yeah,
their
it probably
season
is.
record.
So, but if you're a professional athlete, or if you competed a sport that you play all the time, you're going to play hurt, or you're not going to get to play a lot.
Yeah,
But you can't play injured. So when you're hurt, you play through it. But when you're injured, you stop and get treatment.
yeah,
Because if you play injured, you're going to do long-term damage to yourself. So I think of
that's
anxiety in
great.
this way. I'm going to have to learn to play hurt, or because otherwise I got to shut my life down and I'm going to be in a black room by myself for the rest of my life. That's not an
Yeah,
option. So I've got to learn to play hurt. But when I'm injured, I got to get treatment. So when I would play hurt, these things would help. I would start to feel the AFib kind of feeling coming on, and Psalm 23 is where I lived. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. That's the first verse of Psalm 23. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He restores my soul. So I would go through Psalm 23, but mainly right there, I lack nothing, because anxiety is about the fear of not having enough, or this future. I lack
mhm,
nothing. Then the other thing I would do is I would say, Lord, you are here. And this would help me get back into the moment. Lord, you're here right now. And you've always been here, but now I'm here with you. And I just want to be with you right now. And man, that AFib stuff would stop on a dime, because
mm.
now I'm in this moment with God. I don't, it's not a magic pill for everybody, but for me, it really centered me in the right now.
Well, that's a great. So right there, right, you're playing hurt. Like that's not you
Yeah.
prayed that prayer once and you never had AFib again.
Right.
You never had your heart never raced again. This is a tool, and this is kind of one of the when we talk about flourishing with anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, if you've ever met someone who suffered something terrible, like that family I brought up before,
Yeah.
or older women I've met that have just gone through terrible abuse, or with that they've raised children with incredible challenges.
Mm-hmm.
There's a realness to them, kind of a depth to them that I feel like I'm like when I talk to them, I feel like a fake person. Like
Yeah.
they are actual real people,
Yeah.
and I just live in some fairyland. So that kind of depth only comes through suffering.
Yeah.
Really, suffering is kind of it's a sibling conversation to this conversation, but biblically, suffering has incredible value and incredible worth for us. So you, Dad, you've learned through that practice to be present with God,
Yeah.
and you've learned to rely on Him. That every time you turn to look for Him, there He is there. Actually,
He
He's
is
providing
there.
for you.
Yeah. And I used to say to you kids all the time, I'm immortal until God is done with me. And one day you said, but what if I'm not done with you?
Mm,
And I said, well, I happen to know something about that because I wasn't done with my dad. I was 16 years old. He was 36. He was my best friend. And boom, he's gone. Finds out he's in March, he has cancer. And in September, he's dead. And so it happened. It felt like overnight. And I realize now and realized, surprisingly quickly that I could both miss him and be okay without him,
mm.
and that God was a father to the fatherless and a husband to the widow. And so God's presence with me has been central to my emotional mental health since then, since I was 16 and lost him. So you do become stronger through the adversity, through the storms. You learn not only to survive, then not only to uh, exist, but you learn to prevail and you learn to actually flourish.
And
Um,
you learn serious wisdom. I mean, things that could potentially, if you were to, if you felt called as kind of in a missional way, that
yeah,
you could aid other people who are earlier, further back on their journey than you are, with
yeah.
hard won real truth.
And this is the Jedi mind trick stuff. This is anxiety can be a anxiety was sent to destroy me, but it actually can become a tool in my tool belt that
Mhm.
helps me grow. I can let anxiety help me be stronger. I can choose courage as the path. I can show myself, I can show my anxiety, and I can show the world that I'm capable of more than it thought I could or I thought I could. There is more for me. And so you actually have these steps of success and these moments of where it builds. You starve out your worry because you're gaining confidence in your ability to exist, then to breathe, then to take two steps, then to get outside, then to get
Yeah.
back in the car, then to drive the rural routes, then to drive the highway. You're building, 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 and flourishing can start to happen. And then you learn to practice peace. That's an interesting idea, John, that peace is
Yeah.
something to practice.
The imagery for me is, thinking about surviving and then flourishing is a tool belt. A lot of people who live with anxiety describe a tool belt that you kind of, not every tool works for everybody, so you kind of have your belt and you're picking some up along the way. This works for me, this works for me.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to see an analogy for getting by, look at me with real tools in real life. If you gave me a hammer and said, how fast could you get this flush with the board?
Right.
It's going to take me a long time.
Yeah.
But over time, you see a master. Our woodshop teacher had this thing once. He brought in this wooden square, just four planks, and the test was how quickly can you hammer one in the bottom, the side, the top, the other side, and then the bottom again. So every one of us up there is, setting it, hitting it, missing it, and then so he would time you. Then at the end, for fun, he went up and did it, and he goes set, bam, set, bam, set, bam, and he does it
Yeah.
all the way around.
Yeah.
So flourishing is just, again, thinking of the long game, thinking of your small victories and thinking of your tools and getting better with those tools over time
Mm-hmm.
until basically, if we're going to juxtapose anxiety and joy, which I think is really fitting, I think joy is the exact opposite of anxiety. You basically get to a point where your joy is less assailable. It's more robust because you become a sort of master with your own tools.
Mm-hmm.
It's very personal. It's very,
It is. Yeah, it
yeah,
is. And we would be remiss if we didn't mention that faith is a part of this reframing, that you acknowledge, you know what, terrible things happen in this world. I can't control everything. I'm not the global operations director or the GOD.
yeah,
I need a God. I am not one. Uh, and so by having this ground of belief that there is a God who designed me, who made me, who has my best interest in his heart, and who can carry me when I cannot walk. It's the the famous poem Footprints in the Sand. Have you heard that, John? Read that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, unfortunately now it's people make fun of it a lot,
Do they?
just because it's ubiquitous and people can see it as cliched, but it has real power to it.
It has power to it. That, when I saw there was only one set of prints, I was like, "Where did you go, God? You left me." He said, "No, that's when I was carrying you." And he does. He can. And you're capable of more than you think you are. You can endure more than you think you can. And there is a God who will carry you when you cannot function.
Yeah.
And to believe that and to know Him, to sense His nearness to you, I just don't know that there's anything better than that.
And even if you want to think about the future, right? Like if you're having a really hard time getting to the present, go all the way. Go to the
Yeah,
whole end of time.
yeah,
And faith reframes that as the fairy tale happy ending.
yeah,
Talk about joy, unending joy and deepening joy. Think
yes,
about I heard it phrased, God is so infinite that after 1 billion years of eternity, you will not even be halfway through him. You won't,
yeah,
because there is no end.
yeah.
So it's deepening and eternal and no more tears forever. So that if you want to pull on that thread, just go ahead and do it all the way to the end.
And it's not just you're getting paid back for the suffering you endured on earth. It is the restoration and beautification of all things. It's
Mhm.
everything the way it was intended to be from the start, all put beautifully back together. All the evil is gone, all the beauty's returned. It's the restoration of all things. And that, my friend, that's where hope is found right there.
Absolutely. I
All right,
love
John,
that.
let's get into these action steps. We're going to give 5 and then we're going to call it a day. So, um, there these could be helpful to you. We offer them, and I would say try one. You
Mhm.
may try all 5. Try one. John, go
Yeah.
number 1.
Yeah. I like it. Number one would be name your next step. So write down a thing that's making you anxious, write down the next smallest possible step and do it within a day. Or maybe I'll say, because again, with something like mine, it's the instances can be far apart. So do it at the next time. If you can prep that way. So if it was
Mm-hmm.
something like, for me, it would be again exposure. This would be in that analogy. I'm going to do a drive I don't want to do on a Saturday. We actually just did this. We went up to there's a coffee shop in Tacoma we love, and so Saturday morning, get up, go to Tacoma. I barely slept the night before, but that's just, we did it, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
the coffee was great.
yep.
So name your next step, write it down, and do it soon.
Good. The next one is the do it anyway starter step. So choose one thing you've been avoiding, and you have it, but you've been avoiding doing it, and do a 5 to 10 minute version of it. Not perfect, just started. So it's like I don't have to do the whole thing, but I'm going to do a thing, part of it, to just know that I can do at least a part of it. So the do it anyway starter step.
Love it. Three would be regulate your body daily. So take 10 to 15-minute walk without your phone, practice slow breathing, use your senses in an area. Another part of this is called grounding. You can take an object if you're feeling anxious and kind of feel it and almost focus again to try and bring you into the present
Mm-hmm.
and practice that daily.
Yeah, almost like a blind person can see something by the way they feel it. So close your
Yeah.
eyes and feel it and notice all the things about it. I had a friend, I think, who had the same therapist you have, John, and he learned to you go through the senses. I'm going to see one thing, then I'm going to smell 2 things, and then I'm going to taste 3 things, and then I'm going to hear 4 things, and it just dials you in to the moment. So regulate your body is a great idea. All right,
Yeah.
kill avoidance with a plan. So identify something you keep putting off. Schedule a specific time this week to address it. Put it on your calendar. Block of time. I'm going to address that, and then tell someone your plan so that it's all moving it. You're killing avoidance with an actual plan.
Love it. Lastly, we would say bring it into the light. And by that, we mean tell one trusted man what you're dealing with, ask for a check in or accountability this week. So part of this is part of my, again, to speak personally about it, my worst case scenarios with these is that if I can't do this drive and people are expecting us and they want to know what happened, It's not like I got a stomach bug. It's not like
Hmm.
our car wouldn't start. It's I couldn't do it. I was too scared to do it.
Yeah.
And that's pride. That's just that, you go to the bottom of that well, that's what's there. So
Pride is you're not wanting to say that.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That if I fail, they'll know that I'm weak and scared,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be. So bringing it into the light is accepting the truth, and that's namely that everybody is weak and scared, and at the whims of basically the world, or at the whims of, you say, the will of God. There's no one has the level of control that you wish you had for yourself. So when you bring it into the light and you enter community, one, it's like we said, community's resilience. When you think about your worst case scenario, that
Yeah.
having this trusted relationship, someone to pick up the phone at 2 a.m., that's a real actual thing in the world that makes your life more resilient.
Yeah.
And two is acceptance of the truth, um, demolition of your pride. It's a win-win-win.
Yeah. And two possible great things happen there. One is somebody says, I see you.
Mhm,
I see you. Thank you. And the other is, me too.
mhm.
Those are both powerful things. John, there was a time when you were asked to do a task at your job. It wasn't in your job description. It should not have been a task they would put on you because of your role. It didn't have anything, it wasn't your role. And you wrestled with this. You called me and you said, what should I do here? Because it touched on, do you remember what I'm talking about?
I can't specifically. It
It, it,
happened
it was
a good
about
amount
drive.
of times.
It was about
Oh
driving
yes, yes, yes. I do remember this.
downtown or something. Uh,
No, 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 not. I'd drive downtown a million times. It was
I,
driving up to
no, I'm saying
Redmond.
downtown Seattle. It was,
Oh yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
you had to
Yeah.
go through Seattle or
Thought you meant
something.
Olympia.
No,
Yes.
no, no.
No, I remember.
So talk about that if you don't mind. Just that little story. We'll finish with this one because this is about bringing it in the light. You struggled with what do I do here, and you made the decision. I'm going to tell them what's going on.
Yeah, it was basically I didn't want to have a professional request that I said no because of my anxiety.
Hmm.
And part of that was because I'd have to tell them that I'm anxious.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that. This is, partly because of boundaries, personal, professional boundaries,
yeah,
and mostly because I want them to see me as a capable
yeah,
person.
yeah.
Um, this I might have gone about this different if it was in my express duties. Like
Right,
if this
right.
was in my job description, this is a different
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah,
But basically, I and you for some reason you come up with all these terrible. They're gonna be really disappointed. They're gonna go, oh,
hmm,
But I was a new boss I had too, so I told her pretty candidly part of me and Lindsay's story, that drive is and it was very short notice too. I think it was going to be like in 2 days. The problems that cause, and that I'm afraid I'm going to have to say no to the request. And she said, okay. She basically she was kind about me being vulnerable, but
yeah.
also not a problem. There's, she'll go down the totem pole to other people whose jobs it's not, and maybe they won't have that problem. Or
Right.
some people really like that stuff,
Yeah.
shockingly to me.
You're gonna
Some
pay
people need,
me time on the clock to take a drive? Sign
yeah,
me up. Yeah.
and stop at a coffee shop I love up on the
Right.
way. So it was great, and eventually
Yeah.
that is what happened.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay. Hey, thanks for sticking with us through this entire conversation. We hope it's been helpful to you. And if you've got comments to share, man, make comments on this video. People, we respond to comments, and we love to hear from you. And if you thought this was helpful, and you know somebody else to whom it might be helpful, please pass it on and encourage them to subscribe.
absolutely. Really grateful for you guys' time, and we'll see you for the next one.